What's going on? We only got 3 viewers so far. I'm not expecting a really big crowd, as because I have not actually been around too much. I've been working like crazy, so I do want to apologize to anybody who actually gives a shit about this. I do plan on trying to keep up with it, but I mean, if I'm away with work, it is what it is. I'm gonna try to do my best. But I am introducing Mr. Mike Marcone. Mike,
What's up?
what is going on?
How we doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just watching the bees.
Yeah. Keep me in the loop on that, as I don't have a TV in my garage.
Not going great. Probably better to just ignore that. Yeah.
So, Mike, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your night, watching the game, just to chit chat with me for a bit. Yeah, if you don't mind, just introducing yourself and then start rolling into how you got yourself into a kayak.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Mike Morcone. Been fishing pretty much as long as I can remember. I have pictures of my father when I was, I don't know, 2, 3 years old, and he's holding the belt at the canal while I'm fighting stripers, so I don't get pulled in. I've been fishing as long as I can remember, man. That's just what I've always done, fishing, hunting. If I'm not doing that, I had to be outside in some other way. Can't be inside, can't be sitting still. So just my whole life been fishing, loving the outdoors, doing all that. And, when we're younger, kind of, it's not that I got away from it, but you get into all the partying, all the other nonsense, the life, you know, running around drinking wild stuff. And kind of what got me into a kayak. I've always fished, never got away from it. But man, I used to be like obsessed all day, every day, no breaks, hours. And ironically, it was having kids um, that got me back into it a little bit, because I was always going down to the Cape, spending long weekends with buddies out on the striper boats, got obsessed with saltwater fishing, doing that. Um, and I just couldn't really do that anymore. And I started watching Greg Blanchard videos and saw the kayak thing. And my whole life, I thought I hated kayaks. I was like, I hated kayakers. I grew up, my father was a tournament angler in bass boats. I just thought they were corny, got in the way, hated kayakers, hated kayaks, never saw myself in one. And then I saw those videos. I'm like, man, this is cool. Like, he's fishing big tourneys, catching big fish. It looked challenging, just positioning the boat, doing all that. And um, so that's when I just said, I can't really travel, can't do all the wild stuff. And I ended up joining Any Bassin, which is a local club, the Central Division, and just started fishing, meeting guys there. Kind of had immediate success that I wasn't necessarily expecting. I showed up and everybody had fish finders and pedal drives and all this crazy stuff, and I had one of those giant rafts that you float around on. I was like, oh shit! Like, I think I bit off more than I can chew here, uh, but dude, I hyper competitive. So being in a tournament, it just, for me, it clicked right away. Like, I just, I need to compete. I love that. I played sports my whole life. I just, that gets me going, So ultimately, the kids not being able to travel, some of the YouTube and social media stuff that kind of got my attention, and just sort of a long road, long story, just ended my fat ass in a kayak doing all these wild tournaments. So, and I'm happy I did, man. It's been awesome. So that's
Cool, man. I know that ever since I started seeing your name in these tournaments and on the leaderboard, you've definitely been somebody to watch out for. I mean,
thank
yeah. No, it's definitely once we see your name out there, like, oh man, we got another stick to compete against. But
thank
love
you.
that, absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what was your first kayak?
So, well, like I said, when I started so Any Bassin allows John boats and other stuff. I actually started one of those Pelican, like, pontoon boat, nasty. Oh man, I mean, things sucked. Go like 2 miles an hour, but I won some tournaments on it. So then I jumped into a native Titan. I did the 10.5, probably because of Greg Blanchard again. Like, oh man, he's got that. I got to get it. So, which I like the boat. Definitely love the boat. But then doing some tournaments, I fished the Cape Division one day, and it was like you had Derek and a few other guys just with the motors, and I was like, oh my god, like I need that, and right around that time, like a little after that, the autopilot came out, and when I saw that, I was all integrated. I was like, I didn't want to nut up the money at all, but I was like, God, like I'm traveling and um, just putting a lot into this. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go for it. And thank God I did, because I swear to God, it played a huge role in, winning up at Lake George, and some of the success genuinely could not have done without like spot lock or trying to stay on an area with a pedal. And, hats off to all the guys doing the pedals, because it's tricky, and it's definitely an advantage. Some of us motor guys want to downplay it a little bit, but dude, it's an advantage to have a motor. And second I saw that, I was like, I have to have that, So
Yeah, I know. I definitely don't downplay it. It's a hard pill to swallow when you can stay on a spot or stay in the wind constantly and just stick it out while these guys are fighting for their dear life just to go
yeah.
forward at a half-mile per hour because the wind's so strong. Meanwhile, we're still on spot lock,
Mm-hmm.
fishing a spot.
Yeah. No, it's
But
great, man.
also, I don't think Greg Blanchard knows how much influence he's actually had on, I'd say, more than half of the kayak community right now. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Just like you, I know as soon as I hopped in a kayak, I had a little um, dolphin. I don't know.
Sun
Pelican,
Dolphin, the
sun. I
Sun
don't know.
Dolphin.
It was like
Yeah.
a trophy 106. I don't know. I had two rod holders. There was a sit in. I put pontoons on the side so I could try to stand up. I ended up breaking it and falling in one day, but we all start somewhere, right? But Greg Blanchard, man, just watching all his stuff. I mean, I started throwing a frog because of him. I had never
Yeah.
thrown one, and I just saw him catching giants. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
man.
I hope he's properly compensated, because really, like, I've talked to a lot of guys that same thing. They're like, I was a bass boat guy, or I was this and that, or never even considered. I didn't even know kayak tournaments were a thing. I didn't know KBF was a thing, and especially in the Northeast. Um, and I was just like, well, shit, what can I do around here? And that's first thing I got into on Google. I've since was Any Bassin, and there can be rivalries with MAKB and Any Bassin. I mean, I love the trail. I thought Any Bassin was awesome. It was a lot of fun, a lot of really good guys. I had a great experience, and just sort of went from that to KBF. And then all of a sudden you start doing bigger events, and it's just like, I would love to fish every one of those as well. But, I got two little kids at home. I know you got the family deal, and it just becomes like, man, how many weekends can I commit to tournaments? And you start to look for those bigger events and just wanting to spend time in that. And that's sort of how I ended up with Ken's Trail in MAKB, because just simply 25 guys versus 12 to 15, and I just wanted plus anyone can say what they want about it, but it's like, man, if you look at that lineup as far as a local trail goes, and then you look at KBF standings, like that's a pretty ridiculous trail. Like if you win some of those events, like it's something that you can be proud of, because there's some really good anglers, and even some guys that don't travel who, I've gotten to know, guys like Bruce, or I think Valbert travels a little, and dudes that are doing really well that no one's going to be knowing about on the national spotlight are just ridiculously good, and it's so I'm loving that, man. I really am, and it's definitely no knock on any other trail. It's just a really good, well run thing, I've just kind of stumbled into, and I'm enjoying the hell out of this year. It's awesome. So good group of guys.
Yeah, we're definitely glad to have you for sure, man. And I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for those guys that kicked my ass for multiple years in a row, they made me the angler I am today. Because if I didn't step up, then I'd just get stomped on every single tournament by them. So shout out to those local hammers that all the local trails have, that don't get the limelight that they deserve, because they're the hammers. They just can't make it out.
Yeah,
Fortunately,
yeah, and I'm positive some of those guys, you know, if they moved around, I mean, they would definitely have big finishes. There's a lot of good fishermen in the Northeast. There just are, and I mean, I think that question gets asked on every podcast. It's like, why is that? And it's like, I don't really know. I mean, it could be a combination of, I mean, we fish really high pressure lakes, which makes fishing tricky. It seems like a lot of the Northeast guys excel in finesse fishing, which when things get tough, that should be what you're probably falling back on. And in some of the tougher events, I think if you have a strong finesse game, you can be a little more consistent. And then on top of that, the ocean, man. I mean, think about, I don't know. You just get so many different styles of fishing and like so much. It's just kind of like a way of life for some guys up here, and that's the best guess I could throw at why we've had the success we've had up in the Northeast. But man, there's a lot of good anglers. So Bruins are scored too. There's your update. Hey yo.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's partially a fire under the Northeast, the entire Northeast's ass, because I know time and time again, a different podcast, people get the respect that we deserve, blah blah blah. But I mean, it's just we've never had this opportunity to shine, and then we're taking it and running as fast as we can. And I mean, till the wheels fall off. At least that's what I'm going to try.
Yeah, and I like it too, because it's kind of like a little mafia almost. I mean, it seems like guys are pretty positive. You see the success like Nye Tibbins are having this year, and I knew them from Eddie Bassin, and I'm like, I'm pumped for it. It's awesome. You see him doing it, and you're like, hell yeah. Or I remember I didn't know you that well and saw you down in Florida winning, and I was like genuinely jacked up. I'm like, this is great. Like another guy showing out, another guy kind of killing that weird, notion that for some reason we can't fish with the Southern dudes. And it's been awesome. And I think everybody genuinely, there doesn't seem to be a whole ton of jealousy or negativity, or it seems like guys kind of pull for each other. And that's what I like about it a lot, man. It's made it fun. Everyone kind of travels, and there's their own separate little cliques and stuff, but like all in all, it's all from the north. And it's just fun, man. It's just a lot of fun to just move around and do that stuff and fish all these places and see how you can do,
Definitely. And I'm not going to lie, I love looking at that KBF top 10 standings and seeing half the field from the Northeast.
Yeah. And especially the format this year. Like you can't – last year it was like, oh, well, you're all fishing the Northeast division. You could make excuses, and they might be legitimate too. I wouldn't even disagree with them. But now everyone's traveling to the same stuff. You got to go and show out, or at least you have the opportunity to do all the same stuff, and it's fewer trails. So that's what's kind of cool about this. And it's actually highlighting, I think, some of the talent up here even more, and but we'll see though, I mean, I look at Matt Conant, goes down and runs all that. And it's like, I don't feel like he gets enough exposure and attention and all that. To be perfectly honest, I don't think there's a lot said about him, and it's just like, dude, that was the most impressive thing that's happened in kayak fishing, probably, outside of Russ and Jody and, the stuff they do every year is just ridiculous. But I mean, in terms of like 1 week feet, that was just unbelievable. I don't think we've seen anything like that, and you hardly hear a peep about it now. And it's like, dude, we should be talking about that a little more still, because that kid just went out and wrecked it, so
no knock on any past national champion, but Matt has easily gotten the less of the shit end of the stick, man. He's such a good dude too.
Cares, yeah, he's so laid back. I highly doubt he gives a shit. He just kind of like whatever. But it's again, I've gotten to travel with them a little bit and hang with them. They're just super good dudes, down to earth, cool guys, super good fishermen, and it's like, and then look at our local trail. I mean, it's just nuts, dude. It's like the names, it really is. It's like, how the hell, to try to run it there is just, I had good luck, it's crazy. So
it's only going to make you and I better. I mean, especially with
no doubt.
Rundle and Conant, man. I love it. I'm looking forward to it. Are you fishing the Nashua, or?
I can't. I got a golf tournament with some buddies this weekend, and probably haven't spent enough time with other friends, because of all this fishing. So I'm like, I definitely don't want to and can't blow this off. And, it sucks too, because I'm doing pretty well for AOI points, and I've fished a few Any Bassin tournaments up there and actually won them. So I'm like, oh, I want to go so bad. But
yeah, man,
that can be awesome too, man.
Oh yeah, there's some giants.
Yeah. Yes, there are. Like
And,
there are a lot of them too, you know.
and that sucks because that
Kind of
means you have
smaller though.
momentum. So you have some wins from Many Bassin, and then you've been doing well in the MAKB trail, and then you're coming off a fourth place run at Mesalonsky, so EKF. I mean, I'm actually not mad that you're not there. I'm sad that you're not there. I'm not mad just because you're not going to be running with that momentum.
Yeah, yeah. Oh well, I appreciate the sentiment, but damn, I'd like to be there.
Yeah.
It's just a cool place, man. But it can be hard too. I'll be curious to see what those numbers are because the one thing is all the tournaments I fished were during the spawn, and post spawn there. I don't know that I'd just be interested to see how that goes. I'm not sure if it'll be those giant bags, and it very well could, but I just think, when they're spawning there, that place is just lights out, dude. It's awesome. I mean, you get giants on beds and pretty obvious where they're going to be, and you can just have a blast up there. So,
Yeah. I mean, last year we had it. Was it last year? I believe. I don't know. It was not too far off, so a little closer into the summer, I believe. But I mean, there was still some big fish caught. It was a lot of grass. It was a lot of fun. It was
mhm.
definitely has a little of everything.
Yeah, good for frogging. I've wrecked fish on a frog up there, dude. Is it fun? But
Yeah, I watched Kevin Amaral Jr. lose probably like a 6-7 pounder on a frog. I don't know, 50 yards for me, not even. And
yeah,
I was pumped when he was reeling it in, and then once I saw that the rod go limp, I was like, I yelled for him. I shedded a tear.
yeah. No, I mean that's brutal, but we've all been there. It's. I mean, even this weekend up in Maine, it's have a fish jump into the board and cost me, pretty dear. But that's the fun of kayak fishing, man. It adds a degree of difficulty that I don't think you have in the big boat sometimes, And I put a lot of years on a big boat, so it's just from comparing and contrasting the two, it's I don't know if you hunt at all, but I think the whole kayak thing is kind of like bow hunting of the hunting world. You're sort of making it more difficult on yourself and you definitely have to strategize more, and your game plan is way more important, especially when we travel for KBF. These giant bodies of water. It's like, good lord, how do you break that down when you can only run 3.5 miles an hour? Um, I think anyone would have an issue kind of covering water and really learn it. You almost have to fish a section small and just focus, instead of bouncing around. But doing all that, I feel like makes coming back to these smaller ponds just so I'm not going to say easier, but just like breaking it down is like, all right, you can put the puzzle together much quicker. It's kind of way less water to cover and you're not as overwhelmed. You don't spin out as quick. So I actually think locally it's weird, man, because the success I've had locally, even with like any bass, and I've done real well, but I've had some great events nationally, but also some horrible events nationally where I'm just like just terrible, the worst guy on the water. So it's been it's cool. It's been humbling, but it's like I think you learn so much. And then when we finally come home to this stuff, it's like a breath, sigh of relief. You're like, oh man, I only have to break down like 1,000 acres or something, or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, thank God.
Right. Yeah, when you get these bodies of water that are literally, I don't know, the length or the height of Massachusetts, like Cayuga, for instance. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it from Google's maps. It's like literally the length of Massachusetts.
I know it's crazy. Or like Guntersville, the national championship. It's like I mean that place literally snatched my soul. It's like I just because I had a good year last year and was going for a lot of stuff and just didn't get any of it. And but I mean 75 miles I think they said it was. So it's like my house to Boston and back of water to cover,
Yeah.
and it's like all grass too. So it's like holy shit. How do you figure out what's good and what's not? And that's where you got guys like Derek and Ken for years. Probably another guy that should get a little more respect is Ken. I think it's people respect him, but that dude's like the Northeast OG. I mean, first really put us on the map. And then Derek and guys like Matt and all. You and I have done okay, and plenty of guys have sort of kind of picked up from there and ran with it. But it's impressive how they're always right there. Even if it's a 15th or a it's just like, God, that consistency is just unbelievable, and that's definitely where I would like to be, on that bigger water, just like always there. We've had some good finishes, but I'd like to have, get to the point where I'm not spinning out on some events. That would be a goal, but whatever, I'll get there eventually. I
Yeah,
hope.
it's definitely spinning out on events is something that deters people from actually traveling. It'll stop anglers from making the trip out to these different, far trails that they can't make. I know it's tough when you're spending, depending how far the trail is, $1,000 for round trip for everything to go
Mhm.
and basically suck at an event. There's no worse feeling.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's a low percentage sport. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are. Most of the time you're losing, um, I mean, again, not to harp on Derek, but like that's a guy. I don't think he's won a KBF event yet, and it's like, how good is he? Always at the top. So like more often than not, the point is we don't win, but it's, you're just trying to get your like small wins and have successes, build points, like do well. And the mental aspect is what's so hard. It's just like you're saying, to go and travel and just have a terrible event. And it's easy for guys to be like, well, screw that. I mean, it's not like I can go win. But when it finally clicks, like I'm sure you felt it in Florida, it's like, it is the coolest feeling. It's worth like 20 just absolute terrible tournaments where you lose. If it's like finally your day out of, 140, however many guys, even 60, 70, it's just, dude, it's the best feeling. It's such an adrenaline rush, and it's surreal. And I mean, that must have been the best drive back from Florida ever, dude. Like,
Yeah, dude, I was driving on a cloud. Like it
yeah.
was unbelievable. I mean, it still doesn't feel real to this day. And it kind of
Uh-huh.
sucks because I've been sucking this year, so it's almost like I did it for nothing. But I still got a cool token and a check. That's all that matters. I mean,
Wow.
anything can happen at the trail championship as well, as long as I don't, I mean, stay in the 30s. I'll make a run for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Not likely though.
my season's kind of the same. I couldn't go down to Virginia, and I wanted to go to St. Clair too, and just try to get the points, but it's with the baby showing up, and my newborn was in the NICU came 2 months early. We were in the hospital for a month, so a lot of my season got kind of, even some of these local ones. I'm not pre-fishing or anything, so it's, as much as I'd like to work on it and try to get better and learn, and I just don't have, life's kind of gotten a little bit crazy. So I'm kind of the same deal. If I go down to the trail championship, I'm just trying to, do as well as I can. Maybe, who knows, if you're in that 30 range, you never know, but it's going to be tough to get in the 10 house, with that. But it's still, there's what, like 5,000 guys registered in KBS. So, I mean, it's like, it's funny that we're sitting here, being like, 30, 40. Oh, that's, it's like, so really there's not a, we don't have far to go to get, just improve on little things to, you know, get in that range all the time, and I know you've been around top 15, you know, last couple of years anyway. I haven't really followed before that. So it's like you've been right there. You can certainly do it, but it's just hard, dude. There's so many good guys.
I
So
can
many
I can
guys.
literally picture the fish that I lost last year that would have put me in it. Like I literally, there's 3 fish that I have vivid memories of losing that haunt me till this day.
Yeah. It's
But
it's yeah, it's terrible. And that stuff, you remember that for sure. And it's weird. You try to, that's kind of the mental game. You want to let that stuff go, but that's way easier said than done. It's because it does haunt you, and you only get so many cracks. It's like you never know what life's gonna bring, or just whatever, and it's like when you're there, it's like, man, you definitely want to seize the day, get that opportunity, done. But dude, you'll be back. We're still relatively young, and I kind of like relate to you. It's like you've had some national success, and I've had similar, not maybe not as long or as much or whatever, but like we kind of fly under the radar a little bit. Maybe not talked about as some of the other, which is actually a pretty good place to be. I mean, it's low pressure. We can learn, try to get better. Try to improve, and no one really gives a shit what I'm doing. No one cares what, it's like no one's trying to follow me around or do, so I can just kind of do my thing and
Yeah, we
prop,
can
you know?
basically fuck up and nobody be like, "Oh man, so and so sucked." And
Yeah.
just another skull name scrolling
Yep.
right by it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not the worst place to be. Plus, I always think of guys like Ross or guys like whoever. It's like, dude, is that even, I mean, I'm sure it's super fun, but I just mean like sometimes the come up is the best part, and that journey to try to be one of the better guys. And it's like, you know, once you're there, it's like there's no way it's the same as like trying to chase it.
Right.
Um, so that's kind of what I don't mind. It's I try to keep that perspective and be like, dude, I'm still learning, getting better, and it's fun as hell. Watching YouTube 24/7. I mean, I left Maine. I had a nice finish. So did you? But I left this like kind of disappointed. I'm like, that's mental illness or something, dude. I'm like, what? Pretty good finish. I'm like, I just am competitive and I want to do better. And I think I can do better, but I just, so I have that. That's what makes this so fun. Is just that really the come up, like the journey to really try to be one of those top tier guys, and feeling like sometimes you might sniff it but not quite be there, is just kind of keeps that motivation pretty high. So it's
Definitely,
fun.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh
uh,
man. So let's talk about your finish this weekend. I know we talked a little bit when we were pre-fishing and stuff, and we are both basically just so stoked on fishing Messalonsky. And we are talking about catching, a lot of good fish during pre-fishing and catching fish and just having a blast. But walk me through your tournament, and then I'll match it with mine. See what differed because we literally tied.
yeah, yeah, and we've talked a little, and it's actually kind of an interesting talking point because we were doing kind of very different, seeing different things. But for me, I brought the whole family up, so we got up Thursday afternoon, and it was blowing like crazy, and um, I was hemming and hawing between going to Long and I was like, I spent a full week on Messalonsky. I had a ton of stuff marked and mapped, and I just said I'm going to run that. I find a lot of time, from what I had heard from friends up there and this and that, there was no fish on beds. Spawn was done. That's what I was told, and I was like, okay. I mean, that seems early for it to be done, but I guess it makes sense. The water temps are warm, like, but I'm still going to check. And I find a lot of times post spawn's very similar to pre spawn, and like October and you kind of find them in even like the fall transition, those transitional areas. It's, they're probably going to be, unless they're totally shut down on those flats, feeding up and trying to get fat again. And so, anyways, I ran a lot of my old stuff because I felt like it applied, and I felt like I might be able to find if I pulled up on shore some on beds. Like I wasn't quite buying that they weren't spawning. I was like, I have to at least check because that just to me that doesn't make a lot of sense. At that time of year, that far north, I was like, there's got to be some on beds. And so day one, it was just blowing. Kind of a waste of a day. I went south, ran new stuff a little bit, and was like, yeah, whatever. Caught some fish, but just nothing I would do tourney day. So then practice, I went back to my old spot, threw some topwater shallow, and the fish were like torpedoing out of the water, but not eating it, and just hyper aggressive, and in like 4 or 5 feet of water. And I'm like, huh, like it was almost like it just felt like they were in like a spawning pattern, and I know like a lot of times you'll find smallies in a little deeper beds that you can't see. So I couldn't really catch them, but I knew they were there. So I was like, that's good enough. I'm not going to burn it up the day before. And ran a bunch of stuff and I started wrecking them offshore a little bit, but I want to say like right around 5, 6 feet of water, throwing a Ned rig around, and I was just like pounding fish, So I was having fun, but then I was like, you got to stop, man. Like, what are you doing? You can't, and so I let that go. I knew my old area from the fall was definitely good. Like, I was like, okay, I got something here for sure. And then I ran all the way across, worked around like the whole island area. And then I just ran the bank and I was thinking they might be on beds. And I got to this one bank, it caught the wind laid down for a minute. And I looked down, there's like a 18-ish incher sitting on a bed. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, ran a little further, small male on a bed, ran a little further. And I was like, all right. and they looked like smaller fish. And I just, I was just screwing off, just kind of searching, and I started casting away from the bank because it was, stayed kind of flat around like, 4 to 7 feet. And I'm like, there could definitely be beds. And I started catching better fish. And I must have caught like 20. I just couldn't stop. It's too fun, and I'm like, we drove 3.5 hours. Like, I know you're not supposed to burn this shit up, but I was like, dude, this is too fun. I like, so I felt pretty good because I had my old plan and, you know, kind of a backup plan. And I ended up needing that because, tourney day, I went out and I mean, it was just on from the get go. I think I had a limit pretty quick. I can't even guess the number of fish. I mean, conservatively caught 25, 30 plus fish, over that number, but for the sake of not being a bullshit artist, I mean, definitely, I blasted fish for sure, and it was super fun, man. Like I don't even know how many 17-inch fish I caught, um, but I just ran those areas and it was, I was finding it seemed like even just overnight, and maybe it was that heat or whatever, that it seemed like smaller males in those shallower beds or no fish at all. But if I turned around, there was this one area that I had fished in the fall, and it's a little deeper, real rocky. And the first fish I caught there, I think I want to say was either a 19 or like an 18 a quarter. It's a nicer fish. And it was kind of like a subtly different pattern. And the thing came up puking crawfish everywhere. And I was like, it immediately clicked, I'm like, oh boy, like these are going to be the upgrades, and worked a Ned rig all day, never had anything else in my hand, super slow, and just I could see them all in the graph. And I was just moving around like a football field size area, just covering water. And I could see them on the bottom like crazy. And it's like it would be barren, then you'd see swoops all over the bottom. And I just hit the spot lock, catch two or three, they'd move a little, and then my fish finder dies at like 10 a.m. And I'm like, oh, dude, and the wind picks up a little, so it's harder to stay on it. And it is offshore a little bit. It's not like in the middle of the lake, like I think where maybe you were, but to me, I was just kind of like, oh man. And then a lot of guys squeezed in pretty close, and I was just kind of like, oh, just getting a little frustrated with that, and on top of that, thinking to myself, well, man, I caught like 20 fish here. I'm like, how many more could possibly be here? And then I'm thinking I don't have my fish finder. So I'm like, you know, this is where those decisions can be kind of critical, and at that point I had a pretty good bag caught. And all I really needed to get rid of was a 17.5. And I knew there was quality on that far bank where I just demolished fish. So I ran 20 minutes across and just pounded them, but couldn't get upgrades. And then I rolled over this one bed, beautiful, like well formed bed. I couldn't see on it, but it was in like 6 feet of water, and I was like on top of it. So I just literally flipped the bail, dropped the Ned straight down, and I use the high vis when I'm bed fishing. I just saw the line just swim off, and I'm like, oh shit, set it up, like, and I got a special little Ned. It's a new bait I bought. I'm probably not going to air it out, but it's, oh my god, it's like, and when you get the hook in, it's just like unreal. You just don't lose them, and so I set the hook and I saw the fish turn. It was a nice one. And, um, I got it up, landed it quick, put it in the net. It was put it on the board. It was between 18 a quarter, 18.5, just sitting on the board. And, I think I've already told you this story, but it's every time I've ever landed a fish, I put the net on the side, but I'm like frantic. I'm like, I probably need two fish to win. I'm like, I think this fish will get me around second, but I need two, maybe three. And I have like an hour left. And I just plopped the fish down, pulled the camera out. I must have took my hand off for a split second, and he just flopped up over the rail and gone. And I was just like, oh man. And I didn't even freak out. I sometimes I get a little wound up at that stuff, and I was like, I got an hour, it's fine, and ended up wrecking fish, but never got another upgrade. And that ultimately cost me second place. But so that was kind of my deal, and it was the same all week, and it was tons of fun. And catching them, shallow, offshore flats, eating crawfish like crazy, and picking a few off beds here and there. And it was interesting to hear how different that was from kind of your experience. So it was fun though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a very similar week. pre-fishing, I basically covered all the spots that I covered in the fall when KBF was there during the Super Trail. I immediately a lot of those spots were deeper, but some of them were 10, 15 to 6 foot range depending on the hump. They were all offshore spots. And I started catching fish immediately. Some were big, some were small, but I realized the small fish were deeper, so I wasn't catching anything of size deep. So I started fishing the humps, and then I started actually catching fish. Now the fish that I were catching, they're all spitting up like a 4-inch, 3-inch silver bait fish. No idea what it was. So I was like, okay, cool. And that was the first day of pre-fishing. So I figured I ran through all my spots. I'll go check out the bank. So I started beating the bank, catching fish shallow, nothing crazy of size. I did catch an 18, but it was few and far between. So then come the second day of pre-fishing, I fished a couple really deep, like 35 feet. And once again, I started catching smaller fish. So then towards the end of the day, I immediately went back to a couple humps, made a couple casts at each one, caught good fish. Once again, these fish were spitting up bait fish. So I was like, okay, so they're pushing up bait fish flat or on these humps, the pretty big humps. I'll start at another spot in the morning and work my way to these humps. Now, the first spot I started at was crazy. The day before during practice, Ken and I actually had met up. He floated his way down from the south there, and it was just this wind-blown point, and it was probably like every 3 casts we were catching a fish. I can't tell you how many. I don't know. We probably each caught at least 5 fish in 10 minutes. It was insane. That place is unbelievable loaded with. So I figured I'd go there first thing in the morning, catch a quick limit. I was beat there by a couple guys who actually come to find out they hung out at that island all day long. They did well though. They did. One of the guys placed 9th with 90 1/4 inches, and the other guy had 89 and like 3/4 inches, but all from that one island there. And I had beat the shit out of that island during practice. Like
I did too. I know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I went to go pull off there, and I found another hump that I didn't see during practice last year or this year, and I could see fish on my graph, and then I could see fish in front of me on my Panoptics. So I was casting in front of me, and then I lost 2 real good ones at first, and then I was actually on the phone with my fiance, and I was getting really upset, and she put me through it. She was actually making fun of me, which puts a fire under my ass as well. So then I caught a couple really good ones. So I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So then my bite died there. Once again, they were spitting up that bait fish. So I'll show my Ned. I took it off my rod today, but I was just throwing a little Z-Man baby grub, but with a Trocar tungsten Ned. I don't know if you guys throw it. It's a super finesse hook, but it pins the fish, and it's super sharp, and it doesn't take much to penetrate. Especially that's important to me being on a kayak, getting blown around, constantly moving.
Oh yeah.
So then I rolled down to another hump, and then I don't know, not even 15 minutes into it, it was either 18, 19, 18. I was on the phone with actually Nate Chagnon talking to him while we were competing, and it was just insane.
Yeah,
so
he told me, he was like, I was rooting against you, dude. So
yeah.
I was like, all right, appreciate the honesty.
So we had 2 different. Your fish were munching on crawfish, and mine were pushing up bait fish on similar offshore structure and stuff like that. So that Messalonsky itself is a crazy, unbelievable fishery. If anybody is listening, there's only 7 of them, but if you guys haven't been, you guys got to make it up for sure. It's slowly become quickly. It became my favorite place on earth to fish.
I think it's mine too, for real. I mean, it's like, and it's not just the tournament. It's like every day of practice. I can't even begin to guess how many smallmouth are in that goddamn place, dude. I mean, it's got to be. It just feels so healthy. And I got a buddy that lives in Maine, and he was like, when I asked him about Messalonsky, he was like, "Yeah, it's okay." He's like, "It's all right." And it's just like, I just think Maine is the most underrated state as far as fishing goes, probably in the country, maybe just period. It's because he was saying, I mean, there's lakes way better than that. And talking about big boat tournaments where if you don't have 26 pounds, you can forget about winning, and that's smallies. It's like what? I just to me that's just crazy. I don't know, um, but yeah, what a beautiful place. Plus the setup, man. I mean, just incredible. With Snow Pond and the way Mike does it, and Jason did an awesome job. So it's just it. Like we were saying even before the show a little bit, it's just of all the tournaments, all the travel, all everything I've done, that is by far the best. Just the setup, the lake, the fishing quality, the quality of the fish. You go and have like a little cookout. You're around the guys, just get to bullshit about the tournament, everything else. Everyone's watching where everyone's going in the morning and this and that. It just adds like a degree of fun to it. That um, it's just hard to match anywhere else.
Yeah, I definitely a big shout out to anybody who takes part in EKF. So Jason, Adam, Ken, anybody, anybody that gives them a hand to set up these things. I agree with Mike. The setup at Snow Pond is literally one of the funnest things I've ever done. Never mind a tournament trail. Like it's cool. Like we get Airbnbs and stuff, but to have the amount of people all at the same spot at the same time for one thing, for the same passion, and there were no dickheads, and it was awesome. I mean, we got to hang out, shoot the shit, talk about fishing, catch a ton of fish. I'm trying to roll through the standings right now to see where the last person was to catch a limit, and I'm in the 50s, and everybody. Let's see, 50.
Someone we know, just so you can call them out.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last person to catch a limit was Bruce Levy. Yeah. So 50 spots out of what, 60, 63? Let's see.
And that's pretty incredible. It's like those southern tourneys where like 70% of the field doesn't get a limit. It's like some of the big KBF ones or like a Murray.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. So it's that's fun as hell, man. Because ultimately, let's be real, it's about having fun. And if you're gonna travel, you're gonna spend the money, be away from the family. I mean, I was lucky enough to bring mine up there that weekend, which was a lot of fun. But you want to catch fish too, and have fun. And I mean, we've been to some. I know even just bouncing ideas and talking a little in different places where it's like, God, I come all the way down here and you can't even catch a fish, like period, all week. And it's just, so it's a nice change of pace going up there. And just, I mean, it's fun. Like, doesn't matter how you look at it. It's just fun. Every angle of it. It's literally the perfect event. And anyone that is listening, I mean, I know you said there was like 7 guys, but there's if by chance you weren't one of the 7 that were there, you got to go up there, dude. It's just, the place is the best. I really think I agree with you, man. I think it's my favorite lake, like period, and it's all the fun stuff. You can get a ridiculous topwater bite. I'd like it to have like a little more slop, and that would be like heaven on earth if you had something maybe you could punch to and get a frog bite going. But you get the spinnerbait bite, the whopper ploppers are crazy, the buzz bait's crazy, and then my favorite style of fishing, which I know a lot of guys hate, is throwing around a net or a drop shot, and I know you like that too. So it's that's why I love it the most. It's probably heaven for a finesse guy. It's with a net rig, you just kill.
Finesse offshore, man. It's so much fun to actually, even if you're just watching your 2D sonar, just dropping down on fish and watching them come up and smash it, and you feel your rod tip go down, and now you're fighting a fish in 25 feet of water, and he's shooting. Oh my God, it literally gets my rocks off.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's the best, dude. It really is the best. It's so what a blast, man. It's gonna be hard to top that this year. I'll tell you. It's I just don't know how you do it. Even looking forward, I know Winnie will be fun as hell, but I don't see it being like that. Where you're,
No, Winnie can be a bitch.
Yeah, it can. And I don't know much about the place in Pennsylvania, and I'm not even sure. Again, with everything I got going on, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go, as crazy this year. But yeah, it's just going to be hard to imagine we can top that, But then again, you never know. Maybe we will.
Yeah, I do think I'm going to make it out to What the hell is it called? Wally Poppycock. That's what I'm calling it.
Pennsylvania. Good
Wally
enough.
Poppycock. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. It's unfamiliar water, so hopefully I'll be able to get some pre-fishing in. But definitely looking forward to seeing everybody out there who's going to make it. I mean, if not, I'll just hang out with Ken, Jason, and Adam, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this EKF trail is awesome, man. It really is. Especially having little kids at home, and I want to do KBF as much as I can, but it definitely has me rethinking a little bit of that. Like, do we really need to be, you know, away a week at a time? There's a degree of guilt to that takes away from it. So I like the CKF because it's easy if if you want to bring the wife and kids, or if you are away, you're only a few hours away. It's just this is a great idea, and I'm happy these guys put it together. Those of us that just fish all the time, it's funny how much bitching and complaining you'll see online, and it's like, dude, we just show up and fish. Like, it's awesome the work these guys put in putting these trails together and getting this stuff done for us, and I'm nothing but grateful, man. It's just I'm happy there's people out there putting this stuff on for us to go out and do. And it's maybe not everything goes perfectly all the time, but it's like, dude, come on. Like, we don't do shit but pay an entry fee, show up and fish and have a blast,
Right, right.
so definitely thankful to all those guys doing this stuff, because we're lucky as hell to have it.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool shit going on right now. I mean,
Yeah.
look at this whole KFL KBBT thing. They're
Yeah.
going to be streaming on Amazon Fire TV and Roku through the Pride Network. I mean, those are some major steps in kayak fishing industry. That's something we don't have right now. I mean, we have YouTube and sometimes it's live streamed, and we got podcasts popping up left and right like my ass. But these guys are actually going to be streaming on a television or a televised closed caption network. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, whatever it's called. But I mean, people who aren't out there traveling all the time, they can watch their buddies, they can basically cheer for their team, which is.
And I'm sure it'll, there's going to be hiccups. There'll be stuff that's easy to criticize. Just more, the concept and the direction, and just seeing people try to bring it to another direction, which is so cool, And like, I'm sure at first, we'll be filming with phones, this and that. It's like there'll be hiccups, but it's just a really cool idea and a really cool concept, and so many good things, and really just forget all the stuff we like and we do. Like, just kayak fishing in general is really blowing up. The point of entry is so much better than the bass boat stuff. And again, I think things like what KFL is doing, and that's going to be the future for sure, especially as we get more efficient at it, and learn how to do it in a way that's like really good content and entertaining. And but it's fun as hell to be on the ground floor, and just who knows what will come of it. But it's just it's fun to I don't think anyone's expecting to be a millionaire, but it's just a fun thing to watch grow and be a part of. So
I'm stoked when I make my entry fee back. Like,
yeah, me too. Yeah.
And then I usually just end up buying baits with it anyway, so it's not like I get that money back.
Yeah, or like I did fourth up at Maine. I'm like, I brought my wife, my two kids, my mother-in-law. We had a cabin on the water, ate good food, chilled out Thursday to Sunday, and it was completely scot-free. Entry, cabin, all that. And I maybe made a couple $100, and it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you beat that? I just, like, I'm not trying to be a millionaire doing this. It's it's just, that's awesome. You can't travel to a place that cool, do that stuff. Like, I mean, I would think that'd be $1,500 trip, or just whatever, with how things are nowadays. And to be able to go up there and walk away with a little more money than you had when you went up there is just super cool, So
yeah, for sure. I know my weekend. This is kind of cool. It has nothing to do with fishing, but it has to do with Bass Pro. I got home. And I checked my mail, and I had 3 envelopes from Bass Pro. Now, little backstory: the week prior, I had 2 charges. Unbeknownst to me, I just saw them in my bank statement, and I got emails saying that they charged me twice for $150. I thought they were fake emails, like claim your gift card stuff. So I deleted them, and then I noticed that they charged me. I didn't see anything. I got a refund for $287. So I was like, wait a second, they took $13 of mine. because I got those emails. So something did happen. Well, I got home Saturday with three gift cards for $350 from Bass Pro,
Nice.
and I have no idea where they came from.
Yep. Can't beat that after the weekend you had with a third, and then you get home and
Third place win, some
Yeah.
extra cast of Bass Pro. So I spent it. I bought a brand new Daiwa Tatula reel, some lines, some baits. Next day shipped it just so if like they can't get that money back, I have that stuff. So I mean,
Yeah.
it worked out.
Yeah, dude, that's great. It really is. So, and it's oh man, that's a hell of a weekend.
Yeah.
That was stressful coming down too. I'm like, because I saw you on the stage. You're like, yeah, you got the tiebreaker. I was like, awesome, third place. And then when they said it, I was like, wait, what?
I'm
Like, are you?
sorry. Yeah. Well, you actually were when they shut the standings off. They didn't switch it.
Yeah,
You were actually above me.
yeah,
So I was like, motherfucker. I was trying to call and I couldn't call that 17 whatever.
yeah.
And I mean,
But congrats on it, man. I mean, God, a third up there. There's go through the list. That's all you got to do. A lot of
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
And then you walk away and get some free Bass Pro shit, and it's
I
just
mean,
great.
look at this, dude. We got 2 ties. We got 91. Look, everybody's above. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's so tight. It's got to be that,
There we
that's
go.
one thing I thought while pre-fishing too. I was actually worried with how well I was doing and where I was doing it because I was like, everybody's going to pound them. I'm like, so does this just come down to luck, like who gets a couple kickers, And I mean, look how tight that is all the way down to like 15 even.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, Mark Donio, a quarter inch ahead of me, and then this guy spanked all of us. Jake Anglis, he kicked all our ass. I think he was in the creek. But yeah, dude, it literally came down to the third fish, 18.25. But here's the thing, you had better fish after that. Like, I don't know. It was crazy. And then Ken came out of nowhere at the end of the day. Started catching fish per
I feel like
usual.
that's kind of his MO, yeah.
Yeah,
From
yeah.
what I've heard. He's
That's
always in it. These
yeah.
Ken's awesome. He's as good as they get, I think. But
Standings go down and then he magically makes his way up.
he's got to be sandbagging or something.
He swears he doesn't, but
Yeah,
I don't know. And then
yeah.
the Richardsons, they're both unbelievable. The Mrs. and the Mister.
Mhm.
Brady, the local Simon, he's been doing really well. And then John
Oh,
Marston,
Brady. I heard about that Brady guy too, because my buddy Greg Harjula fishes some of the main trail, and he said he actually named a guy, which that's him. I didn't even notice that till right now. Said he was going to be a threat. Said he was pretty good and knew the place well. So that's
yeah.
funny just seeing that now.
And then Sean Dwyer, look, 1919. He had a 16. If he were to just just get it wouldn't take much. The race was so tight. This was such an unbelievable event.
Mhm. Yeah, it's got to be an annual thing, in some capacity. It has to be. I mean, especially if Snow Pond will have us, like, because everyone's going to catch them. And even if, like, I think someone mentioned, what if we just did Snow Pond, stayed there, maybe do one of the lakes around there? Like it's all the fishing there, because a lot of guys I spoke to when the regional championship, you could fish great and Messalonsky. A whole bunch of people said Great Pond was even better than Messalonsky. So, I just think that region, dude, I really think it's world class fishing, and it's just not a lot of people go up there. Not a lot of people know about it or think about it. It's all Tennessee River and this and that and all the stuff we hear about nonstop. But I just find it hard to imagine you could find way better fishing than that, especially for smallies, like anywhere, except maybe some of those crazy Midwest lakes. But it's just kind of I don't know, man. The place is awesome. I hope we go back there every year. I really do. I'd be bummed if we didn't.
Mike, check this out. Check this comment out from the Godfather himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Jody. Really appreciate it.
I do too. I mean, guy's a stud. He came up. Hey, I'll tell you what though. Sometimes our northern attitude, we're like, hey, if they come up here, what are they going to do in our stuff? And he came up to Candlewood, and whooped ass. So
For sure did. For sure
yeah,
did.
respect to him for sure, man. I mean, he's easily. It's kind of like, let's be real, Russ and Jody, and then there's the next tier, everyone else, you know what I mean? So anyone that kind of follows what's going on in this world, so respect to him for sure. He's awesome. So
I was definitely stoked to see him up here.
yeah,
I really hope we see a lot more of the southern guys,
yeah. I think they'd
mid
love it.
Atlantic guys making their way up.
They would love that. I just don't think people realize, uh, it's too bad the one that Jody experienced was like the most, and he had a great day, but like the most hyper pressured, like washing machine lake. That's still awesome, but Maine, it's like the boat traffic was nothing. There's no bass boats, none. Those fish are dumb as hell. You could just catch them until you're sick of it, and so I hope more of those guys do come up because I think even like the Hobie event in Champlain, guys are going to have fun up there, and I just think people, and they're beautiful places too. It's instead of that like coffee brown water everywhere, and it's just beautiful, rocky. You got mountains everywhere. I saw like tons of bald eagles, giant turtles. It's just awesome. It's hard to beat. So I'm glad he came up too. I hope more of them do. So, but I kind of hope they don't too.
Yeah.
We can keep living this illusion that we're all so good.
Yeah, right.
Dudes will come up and stop us.
Uh,
No, just kidding. But yeah, man, it was awesome. Great time.
Ken says all of his fish were extremely intelligent. I don't.
Well, all right.
If I
Mine's
could, if I could post a meme, I would, Ken.
yeah, yeah. I know. I would like to pretend that I'm just that good that I caught 30 fish, but it was kind of like fishing in an aquarium. So, but you know, it was a great spot.
Cool. So, how about anybody that's watching? There's 12 of us, so we've got a viewers. Oh, down to 11. Son of a bitch. Anybody got a question for Mike? Anybody? Anything about his weekend or his success as of late?
3 inches.
Three. I wasn't expecting much. There's not a lot of people, Mike.
No, yeah, that's all. That's okay, man.
Yeah.
No worries.
Cool. So, what is the next event that you're actually gonna fish?
Um, I don't know. I think there's so many, I have my calendar, you should see it. It's like every weekend. So I can't go this weekend. I mean, I think the following weekend, I think is my first, might be my first DKF event. Um, I might have 2 weeks off here. Yeah. So the 26th would be Hobie if I go up there, which I'm debating, I'm not sure. Are you fishing that or no?
The Hobie, probably not, man. I kind of have to pick and choose what I want to do now, and I'm kind of bummed out because I would have free stay from work if they were allowed to launch at the Vermont side,
Uh-huh.
but they're not. So I don't know, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, I don't, you know, I've done plenty of travel, and it's I'm definitely gonna fish Winnie. I'd like to do Pennsylvania. I'm not sure about that, but I'm that one I'd like to do. Especially having a decent finish. I think it's your best three in EKF. It'd be fun to do. The AOI races. It's like really, it's a pride thing. But it's fun to do that. And to like again, being that it's just fun. You check on it and you get to know names, and it's so. I would like to fish, as many of those EKF events as I can. The baby was born right during the whole Cayuga thing, but man, that event sounded cool as hell too. So, my next event will probably be, possibly Pennsylvania. Otherwise, it's just going to be EKF and MAKB. As many of those as I can fish, and
Cool, cool.
try to keep my hat in the ring there. But
Nate Goodwin asked, "What's your boat setup?"
I got the Old Town Sportsman Autopilot 120. Love that boat. I know everyone kind of like loves their boat until they sell it, and then it's like the worst boat. Like, love that boat, man. I like it way more than my Titan. I'm not knocking Titans, but I just absolutely love it. It's the only drawbacks, maybe a little more dry storage would be nice, and they're kind of slow. I get smoked by everybody, which that can suck. But other than that, man, it's just like I really wouldn't change much. If they did a little bigger motor, holy shit, that would be such an awesome platform, you know. But that's what I'm rocking right now, and probably for the foreseeable future too. I don't think I'm gonna get rid of that boat anytime soon. So
Hell yeah.
yeah,
What about Nate? Nate, if you want to run us through, you did very well at South Watuppa in Fall River, Massachusetts.
yeah.
Yeah, just want to roll us through you real quick on that.
I found them on beds, and I never fished there, you know. And my idea was I'd just go as far south as I was looking on the map, and I'm like, they're going to be spawning, you know, definitely. And I just figured I'd try to run as far as I can, as shallow as I can. You know, I've won a fair amount of spawning turns. Like I've taken plenty of licks. Not going to tell you I'm the best guy, but I've won a lot of spawning tournaments, and I find a lot of guys overlook just how shallow they'll spawn sometimes. So I'll go up and start there that time of year and work out, and ultimately just typical spawning, even on a weightless Senko half the day, you know, just getting it up, sort of blind casting. They were a little finicky if you saw them, and then found some bigger fish as the day went on. And but it was fun, man, because it was all a lot of sight fishing or pitching those areas where you thought they might be. So that was a really good time. And I actually saw Nate. I think it was just me, myself, Nate, and Ken were the only guys that went all the way south. And you know, so everybody down there seemed to get a few. So yeah, that was awesome. I didn't expect it just because of the field, you know, and I hadn't fished it yet. So but dude, I swear to God, you ever, you know, like I talk to guys, and even like the guys at Messalonsky, I mean, how many guys we hear like, oh, I'm gonna get 97. You know, I think there's something sometimes to overthinking things, and sometimes when you just go fish loose, like there's so many times where I kill fish pre-fishing because I'm just relaxed and fishing, and I'm trying to pick apart everything and adjust. And sometimes when you have a plan, you get a little too married to your idea, you know, or you're like what you think should be happening versus what's actually happening, you know. And so it's actually been a blessing in disguise not being able to do as much as I normally do with everything we have going on at home. Going into some of these blind, I'm just fishing super loose. I'm just like happy to be on the water, man. I have a screaming, puking kid every night. You know, I
Yeah,
love him to
yeah,
death. But it's like, dude, I'm just happy to be on the water. So, and you know, my wife's super cool about supporting and letting me go out and do that stuff. So that was the deal with South Watuppa. It was all spawning, sight fishing, bed tournament. So super fun.
yeah, man. You kicked everybody's ass. There was a couple hanging out with you, but you had that tournament,
It
and
was cool. It was
yeah,
just
and
one
I
of those,
can
you know, it comes together. It's you know how it is.
and I totally can relate with when you go into a place that you've never fished before, or your first time fishing a place when it's practice or whatever. You are fishing more relaxed. You're fishing more naturally. You're fishing what you think is going to be happening that you don't know yet. So if you do get a bite or figure out a bite, and then you try to recreate a tournament day, 9 out of 10 times it's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
And
And then you
then
bang your head against a wall, and it's like,
and you spin
you know,
out. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
and you know, coming from big water, now we're in ponds. I think it does improve the way you think about things. You know, I really, it just feels easier to figure out, and it's like, you know, again, it's not like sitting here being like, oh, you know, it's not pumping my own tire. It's just like comparing the two. You know, like you're trying to break, you get so overwhelmed, and then you come to a small lake, and it's like I have a general idea what I think they should be doing that time of year. So I know where to start and then I'll work from there. But there's so much less to break down and you're building that experience at the same time. I actually think there's something to just like going and fishing loose and not having that water to cover that we're getting used to covering. And just fishing. I mean, it's at the end of the day, this is just fishing, you know? And so, yeah, I agree with you, man. I think definitely, and I see a lot of guys do that too. I actually think it's a big mistake on a lot of guys. It's just maybe overthinking things a little bit, and just you know sometimes you just got to go fish, and we all know how to catch them. You know.
yeah, I know I can name a handful of guys right now that literally don't like to pre and they don't like other people pre-fishing. because it might work for them. But yeah, they don't pre-fish only because when it comes to tournament day, they're not catching the same fish that we're catching during practice, and it literally drives them crazy. Bruce Levy.
Yeah. I've seen his pre-fishing his gay post, or I don't know, but you know, um, yeah, dude, especially smaller ponds. It's not. I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, in the past, I'm like heavy into pre-fishing. I like to do it. I think it's fun. I like the mental side of fishing. I love breaking down water. It's like a puzzle, and I just enjoy it. It's just fun. I'm a nerd. I watch that Nerd on Fish the Moment all the time, and it's
Yep,
just kind
yep.
of I like to nerd out to fishing stuff, So, but that said, that can really screw you up, man. If you go too far with it, it's like, again, so many guys are really good. Just go fish, do what you do. Things will fall into place. So,
I know half of it for me is just knowing the lay of the land, where things are, where
mhm.
structure, whatever, contours, and then maybe finding a couple fish on said things. But bringing up Messalonsi again, back to that place. I mean, you could pre-fish the shit out of that place and still go kill them on tournament day, which was
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. I caught them all over that lake, and so did everyone I talked to. So yeah, that's a place where you could show up with very little, but you still want to know roughly what you're looking for. It's you know, and just like you said, how a lake sets up. There's subtle things you can pick up on. But again, but now then you take it to KBF. It's like, dude, you had better go pre-fish. These giant bodies of water. It's like you better spend. Some of these dudes are just that's what they're doing. Traveling, living in vans, and we're certainly not in that situation, being new dads and all this other stuff. But and man, I wish I knew about this when I was that age. I'd be doing exactly what those dudes are doing. That's so cool. Hats off to them. That's to me, that's the dream, man. If I could do it, I would. Um, but those big bodies of water, you got to spend the time. But these small ponds, it's good to know what's up, but just go fish and just kind of fish the conditions, and a lot of stuff is it's weird how you launch on a pond. You're like, oh, this is like this place,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden a pattern comes together, and you're like, geez, it's fished exactly like that, and that happened to me on day 2 in Lake Murray, turned into the Nashua River. The puzzles came together, and I was like, I struggled my ass off all week, so bad, man, and day 1 struggled, and I kept hearing they're on wood, they're pulling up, and then I saw pictures in the standings of these dudes up the river, and I'm like, all right, it just started to be like, man, they're definitely just pulling up, and everyone that's posting pictures, they had like blisters all over them from rubbing on the rocks. I was like, I got to just try it, and I ran like an hour and 20 minutes up that river, totally blind, had never been up there. And when I say an hour and 20, it took an hour and 20. I wasn't fishing until whatever time, and um, worrying about the battery the whole time because I didn't know how bad the current was. And it ended up being a little worse than I thought, so. And I wrecked them pretty good. I fished horribly, lost like 3 big fish that I think would have put me, but again, that's just sort of all week I struggled, and I finally just paid attention to all the little bits of information you can get and took a big shot in the dark, but just based off, things that have happened for me elsewhere. And I was like, I could easily skunk here. When I get up there, it was like a foot of water. I thought it was going to be 4. And I was like, oh shit, but then I'm like, Nashua River. That's exactly what I was thinking of, by the way. I was like, I catch them in like, they bed in the most, I probably shouldn't even be talking, but they bed in the most shallow water you have ever seen. You can't see the beds. So every tournament I fished, everyone's going, they're not on beds. And I'm like, yeah, they are. I found them all over the place. But you got to be like almost walking in front of your kayak. It's just super bizarre, like really weird, And so I almost left, and it was the same deal. It just like pay attention to, and I think that's why these guys at the top that are fishing all these tournaments continue to do so well, is they just have that memory bank and that book of experience, and things start to blend together and look the same. You know what I mean? And it just starts to, you're building constantly, you're always building on that foundation, and it's just, So I look forward to getting better, and I try to learn all the time, man. I have so much I need to improve on. It's so and watching guys like Jody or guys like Russ or the Derricks and the Matts and the Kens and everybody else, there's so many good guys and yourself, and it's awesome. You push yourself and you want to be better. You want to keep up, because if you don't, you'll fall behind real quick. There's a lot of good guys. So that's what I'm most happy with what we have going on right now is it's just tons of fun, good group and super competitive and a lot of fun.
Cool. So that was actually a perfect segue into my last question that I'm going to ask you. So for a new tournament angler, because the sport is going at a crazy rate, what are 3 tips? Excuse me. What are 3 tips that you would tell a new tournament angler?
I, so it's actually funny you asked that, because I've had guys asking me some questions, and guys we know, and which I'm honored. It's like I don't think of I think of myself as sucking ass and like wanting to catch these other names. I really, and so I appreciate anyone reaching. I've been happy to talk to anyone if you think I know, But so the first thing and most important thing that I think I would say is slow down. Um, and this is Greg Blanchard too. I'd watch his videos and he gets in like sometimes I watch his videos. I'm like, dude, slow down. There's a difference between fishing efficiently and fast and but I think sometimes, and that can certainly lead to the spin out. So I would say A, slow down. B, sort of like what we talked about earlier, don't always overthink it. Like, it's good to be cerebral. I used to coach football and we would always say analysis equals paralysis, and that's why you go pre-fish. Sometimes you do that practice, you get your reps in, you want to be reacting, but it's like come game day, you got to be loose, you got to be flying around. You can't be, all bound up, because then you're going to spin out, like we said. Um, and then I think the last thing would really be, dude, is just that mental side. Just like stay calm, have fun. I can't tell you how many times I've been completely out of it, and the last hour, like a miracle happens, and I catch, So it's like the mental, stay in it, stay positive, and just realize that this is a long process. Like, nobody's going to be great overnight. Nobody's going to win every tournament. Nobody's going to, tons of shit's going to go wrong in a tournament. Like guys setting up right where you were just sitting, or your fish finder dying at 10, or the wind picks up blowing 30, or a fish jumps off the board. So the mental is probably the last thing I would say, is just find a way to stay centered, stay calm, and just stay in the fight. Don't give up. Just, you're always in it until that buzzer beats, and that's kind of what I would say, is just those 3 things. I think could get you a long way, just as far as a basic advice goes. And then learn to throw a goddamn Ned and stop bitching about it.
Yeah,
you know
man. A lot of times it's easy to think, oh man, I'm gonna come into this sport and start, kicking in doors.
oh
But
yeah.
you get humbled real fast,
Uh-huh.
really fast. I literally remember fishing my first MAKB tournament. Like, all right, man, I think I know this place well. I'm gonna do good. I'm gonna win. And I remember catching one fish and then
Yeah.
being like, holy shit, I got a lot to learn.
Yep, yep. It'll humble you super fast, especially those lakes. I'd watch so much TV, and I remember thinking, I'm going to go down there and destroy fish. I'm like, oh, Florida, you can punch. I'm like, look out. Like, I love punching, and it's, go down there, and we just got like, well, you didn't, but I got absolutely stomped, and it's humbling, very humbling, and it's respect to the guys that figure it out, because but that's what's fun. Every lake's different. Every day's different. The conditions you're always learning. I don't think even the best of the best, they would probably tell you they don't have it all figured out. It's just you're always learning. And
Yeah,
that's what's great.
like today I was watching MLF, and I don't remember what time it was, but Gagliardi only had 1 4-pound fish. Meanwhile, everybody else is crushing them. I mean, it's crazy. It happens to the best of us, literally.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah. So, and that's that mental. You got to just find. It's like be zen. I don't know. Find a way to just stay even. Don't get too high. because then some dude sandbagging but never get too low either. Just keep, that even keel and just plow forward, and things will fall together, and even the guys that have asked me some stuff, I've been like, dude, you just stay in it, man. Like it's going to come together. If you got that drive and you want to be better and you want to learn, and you're a humble enough guy to reach out and ask them, buddy, you'll get there, for sure. It just takes time. Like I said, my earliest pictures of my father holding my belt, I'm 2 years old, 3 years old, fighting stripers at the canal at like 4:30 in the morning. I don't know what the hell his problem is or what he was doing. I would have my kid doing that, but it's like, it's been a long time, and I wouldn't call myself the best at all, so it's like, all I'm saying is just crazy amounts of time and experience, and there are some people that just have it too, and they'll pick it up super fast, but for me, it's just kind of time and experience, and loving what I'm doing. And it's, for me, when I watch YouTube or study or maps, it's not work. I enjoy it, it's so I just like every aspect of fishing. That's what I like to do, So,
Yeah, if
yeah,
you could take the good with the bad, have that drive to always better yourself, chances are you're going to be a good angler.
yeah,
Everybody's different. It's going to be at some point, but it's not
yeah.
going to be right away.
Oh yeah. And there's so many out there. I mean, the next guy's out there, and that's what's fun about what's going on, why it's exciting and why everything growing and new trails. And there's just a lot of good guys out there, really good guys. And it's like, you wouldn't want to, you want to compete with really good guys. And it's just great to see everyone having success and all these new trails. And I love even the podcast, things like that. I think it's fun, man. It's like every one of us works a 9 to 5, or I mean, 95% of us, works full time. We go home, the wife, the kids, all that. And it's like, dude, we're not on none of them, even the biggest fishing podcast. They have audience like what, like 10,000 subscribe, but it's like, you get to be not a celebrity, but like, you get your little moment to shine, and we recap and we talk, everyone's on the same page, it's like, like-minded people, and so the whole scene becomes like very fun, and that's just the way I look at it. I just think it's an awesome thing, and then you never know where stuff goes from there, like we're on the ground floor of something that seems to be growing quickly, and it seems to be growing quickly because it's way more accessible than some of the traditional big fishing trails and big boat stuff, and it just seems to me like, I think we're on the ground floor of something pretty cool. And, maybe it'll just stay like this forever, and that's still awesome. But I could see it getting a lot bigger as more and more people hear about us and what we're doing, and KBF, I mean, and or even the other trails, the BASS or Hobie. And, there's still a lot of people that don't even realize this is going on. So like the podcast, the YouTube, you know, all that stuff. I mean, I work all day, so I just listen to podcasts all day. If you have a fishing podcast, my dumb ass is listening to it. Like, definitely, guarantee. Like, so because I've heard Led Zeppelin. I mean, I don't know how I love them, but like, I just can't listen to them 8 hours a day, so I just think it's all exciting and fun. And, again, we're on the ground floor. I don't know where we're going to go, but it seems like there's a lot of opportunity to grow, and which is fun, man. It's just great. So I like what you're doing, and even my guy Josh at Dark Waters, and the Jigs and Bigs, and all you guys. And I think you'll all grow into something cool, because more and more people are just getting into this and liking this, and it's just fun to give us normal guys our time to shine and just have a good time with it. It's supposed to be fun. So
Yeah,
I think
I mean, it
makes it,
definitely is.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, this is just basically talking fishing, kayak fishing. I
yeah,
mean, I do that with my friends or the guys at the trails all the time. Just gives me it gives everybody a platform, essentially,
yeah.
to do whatever they want, and that's the cool
That's
part.
awesome. Yeah. No, it's really cool. So thanks for even inviting me to be a part of it, man. I appreciate it. It's I like it. It's great. I could talk fishing for hours, man. I love fishing.
Yeah,
So
no, we do.
yeah,
Cool. Well, I mean, we've been on for a bit. If you want to maybe just shout out some of the people and or companies, whatever you got to
man.
say, let them know.
No, I just hey, nobody sponsors my dumb ass. I just thank the community, my wife for being so cool, always allowing and supporting. Just all the guys, man. Everyone comes up. It feels like everyone I talk to is cool. You know, guys I hardly know. Um, I'm just thankful for the whole thing more than anything, you know, and it's looking forward to this EKF thing and all the, you know, some sponsors supporting what we do. And it's, you know, I still think I have a little ways to go before anyone's going to be paying me to do anything, you know, but just thanks to people like you know, other shows, just everyone that's doing something to make the whole thing better and grow. That's who I'd shout out and thank, you know, and it's the podcast, the directors, the sponsors, you know, because I don't have anything specifically, that's probably what I would point at, you know, and just it's making this whole thing way better for us normal dudes, you know. So
Mike, that was literally the most badass shout out I've ever heard on any podcast.
thank you.
No, most people are just like, oh yeah, I'd like to thank, you know, this company right here and this company and this,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you were like, no, thanks kayak fishing and thanks for everybody trying to make it better. That's sick.
No, it's fun, man. It's great.
Appreciate you, Mike. Looking forward to fishing soon.
Yeah.
Any last words? 13 people. Any last words, 13 people? Steve O'Brien, got something to say?
Oh, he's always got something to say. What's he got? That crazy pirate.
Love you, Steve.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to the game if it's still on. I don't even know. It's
yeah, that was a long one, but I had fun, man. It's cool. I could chop it up anytime, you know. So thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. And thanks for everybody who tuned in. And once again, I'm sorry that I suck at doing this consistently, but I promise I am going to try as hard to be consistent. Everybody have a good night.
All right. Take it easy, buddy.
You too.